All right, the clock on the wall tells me it's time for us to get started. Hi, it's Scott Baird at Griffin Hill. Thrilled to have you with us in our Griffin Hill Webinar to Win series. That Webinar to Win is not chosen lightly. It's the whole notion of we're here to serve you, our customers, our friends, and make a difference in your lives in ways that you can implement rapidly and get terrific gains. We know that people will continue to gather as we get started here, and that's terrific. But we've got Bill Brady with us, who's the President and Chief Marketing Officer at EKR. Bill, welcome. Good to have you with us today.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Great to be with you.
You know, I just have to give you just a little bit of background about my experience with Bill, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about Griffin Hill and some things that will set the stage for today. But as you know, Griffin Hill is the primary sponsor of SmartCon, Utah's sales, marketing, and technology conference. We do that in September. This last September, Bill Brady became my hero. This guy has remarkable content. He is brilliant. He's articulate, though today he tells me he's sporting a little bit of a cold. But Bill, you became my hero at SmartCon 2016, and I've just been so excited to get you on a webinar ever since.
Well, I appreciate that. It's a great opportunity, great privilege for me as well, so thank you.
Well, you're very kind. Look, as you know, Griffin Hill is a human and organizational performance company. We help our clients increase top-line revenue. We provide a complete system of tools and technology to help salespeople elevate their game. You know, if I give you one quick example of this, we started a strategic planning engagement and then a sales coaching engagement with iHeartMedia 2 years ago. As we were working through that strategic plan, we were to the point we were working on the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal. And iHeartMedia said, look, we just want to increase our Miller-Kaplan ratings by 1%. And I just sort of sat there dumbfounded. I'm going like 1%? Just does not sound big or hairy or audacious in any way. If I'd have had Bill with me in the room, he could have explained that no. Moving the needle on Miller-Kaplan by 1 percentage point in 4 quarters when the first one hasn't even started yet and the measurements come infrequently. Moving the needle in this way is, in fact, a big, hairy, audacious goal. Is that true, Bill? This is your world.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, so that's what they finally persuaded me, no, this really is big and hairy and audacious. So we accepted the BHAG as a 1% moving the needle on their Miller-Kaplan ratings. Well, at the end of the year, we sat down and said, okay, look, I got to ask you the tough question. How did we do on our Miller-Kaplan ratings? It was sort of like, Dr. Baird, we're almost embarrassed to tell you. Oh, did we not nail it? This was only 1%. Oh, no. We hit 350% of our goal. We moved the needle by 3.5% on our Miller-Kaplan ratings, and we outperformed our peers in revenue, in profits, by 325%. Well, that's what we do at Griffin Hill. And we love what we do, and we're very pleased with our association at SmartCon because it gives us the opportunity to expose our friends and our customers and our associates to great and talented people like Bill. Today, Bill's really going to give us some insight on a combination of branding and messaging that will absolutely make a difference. Now, we know that when people join us in the webinar, we get this about an equal mix of C-suite executives and then frontline entrepreneurs and salespeople. For both camps today, what Bill is going to share with you will absolutely blow you away as we talk about positioning. Look, for those of you that have been around the Griffin Hill Integrity Sales System for any length of time, you know that we take this whole sales process and we break it down into its component parts so that it gives every salesperson a roadmap, a guide to follow, knowing what those mile markers on the road are. And then each mile marker is set out by a set of plays. The very first routine in the sales process is called the case open routine. The case open routine is all about positioning. We've got to make sure that we establish and secure our position with our prospects very first. And really, we hope that first selling interaction comes in the context of a rich marketing program and campaign, the kinds of things that Bill Brady is famous for, before we ever have that first selling interaction. So that selling, positioning, branding, marketing has been occurring all the way along. But that very first interaction is 5 basic plays: rapport, positioning, benefit, proof, and then schedule the next event or permission. Now, those all sound really simple, and we call out positioning play specifically, but the truth is, every one of these plays is a positioning play. Just think about this: rapport, position, benefit, proof, schedule the next event. It's really rapport, this is who I am. That's positioning. Benefit, positioning, this is what we do. Very powerful positioning. Benefit, this is why people just like you care. Proof, here's an example of that. And then, of course, scheduling the next event is the ultimate positioning play. When you occupy a space on the calendar, you're positioning. And when you position in that way, it has the effect of squeezing out other competitors. Well, today, that's what you're going to get from Bill Brady, President, Chief Marketing Officer of EKR. EKR kills it. They are the elite of the elite in the state of Utah. But as a result of that, a big portion of their business comes from Silicon Valley and Fortune 500 companies all around the globe, and Bill can tell you all about that. Bill, I'm so grateful to have you with us today. I'm going to just invite you to dive right in and share with us. Oh, with this one thing, I will just remind you that get registered now for SmartCon 2017. There's actually probably going to be a link in your comments section. But if you want the kind of content, the kind of brilliance that Bill's going to share with us today, get registered for SmartCon. Come and check it out. When you register now, you get the very lowest price, early bird discount, and you don't even have to put your credit card number in. You don't even have to pay for it today. So, Bill, welcome. I'm thrilled to have you with us. You're my hero, Bill, so I'm glad to have you with us today.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Baird. I appreciate it. And thank you again to everyone for joining us today. I've been looking forward to this session as we got it set up a few months ago, and pleased to spend a few minutes with you this morning. In thinking about a topic that I could address in a few minutes and share some actionable insight, share some advice that you can take away today and put into action today, I thought about one of the biggest challenges that I've run into in the course of serving clients and running agencies over 20 years almost now. And I want to sum up this challenge by an experience. I want to summarize it by sharing an experience I had early in my career. Why don't you go to the next slide for me, Dr. Baird? I was invited to meet with a gentleman who had started a fast food store. He invited me to come over and sample his wares, if you will, and it was a burger joint, and he shared it.
To sample the wares.
I was excited about that part of it for sure, but it also turned out to be a great learning experience. I had a hamburger, and it was a good hamburger, no question. But this gentleman was fixated on the bun, not on the burger itself or on the toppings or the trimmings, but on the bun. In fact, he had branded the whole store around the concept of the bun. It was a hamburger store, but it was called Lucky Buns. And that was a little bit of a disconnect for me. But as I visited with him and I watched him interact with customers who were there, it became clear that he had really not gone through any kind of process to understand what people wanted or how he should be positioning himself. And as a result, the message that he was trying to share and the way he was trying to position this new venture, it didn't ring with any authenticity or any kind of compelling attraction. And as subtly, or as I should say, as politely as I could, I warned him about that, and suggested that perhaps he was off, and perhaps he didn't really understand what he was selling and what people were looking for. Unfortunately, he was out of business in 6 months, and I wasn't surprised. And that was early in my career, an experience that just kind of reinforced the need to help people have a true understanding of what they're selling and what people are buying and how to meet the needs that people have, yes, on a functional level, but even more so on an emotional level. And that's what we're going to talk through today. It's this question of, what are you really selling? And I'm going to share a couple steps for you to go through so you can analyze that question in your own businesses and as a result, improve the way you position yourselves and improve the way you message what you're doing. Go ahead to the next slide for me. So the first step in this is key, and that's to understand the benefits that your brand really offers. Dr. Baird referenced the importance of understanding benefits in the Griffin Hill integrity sales system. And that's why the system is so successful for people, is that it is based on benefits. There are two kinds of benefits that I want you to think about. In fact, if you are, even if you can start going through this process right now, get out a sheet of paper and draw a column, draw it into two columns, draw a line down the middle. On one side, write functional benefits and title the other column emotional benefits. Next slide, if you would. Functional benefits address the question, what does it do? What does this product, what does this service, what does it do? And that's just, you're thinking of functional things that it accomplishes. The next question, next slide, is what does it do for me? What satisfaction do I receive? What emotional benefit do I receive from this good or service? Let me explain this or illustrate this with a personal experience that I had. A few years ago, I was ready to buy a new car. My wife and I have always been fairly conservative in our car buying. We've been Honda people, and when we were married, I think our first car was a 12-year-old Honda Civic, and we literally drove that thing into the ground and replaced it with another Honda that we drove into the ground. And at one point I said to my wife, I'm ready to buy a new car. And I started doing all the research. What are the different cars I could buy? What are the things I like? And I had catalogs coming to the house. And I finally decided that I had my eye fixed on an Acura MDX. And you can see a picture of it here. It's a beautiful vehicle. And absolutely a lot more money than we typically spend on vehicles. So I started to make a case. I knew I had to make a case and go to my wife, and I pulled her aside and I said, Heidi, I've really put a lot of thought into this and a lot of research, and I think I'd like to get an Acura MDX. And she looked at me and said, well, that's a pretty expensive vehicle, isn't it? That's a lot more than we would usually spend. And so I jumped into a defense of this suggestion by going through the functional benefits of the vehicle. I said, yeah, it's a lot of money, but, it's got all-wheel drive, and, I won't have any problem getting over, snowy roads as I'm, out doing my business, and it's got the best safety record in its class, so if I were to get in an accident, you wouldn't have to worry about me, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And she looked at me and kind of rolled her eyes and, said, Bill, why do you really want that car? So it came down to, I could, next slide if you would, I could see the car, and click again, I could see myself in the car. And of course, what came between me and the car, it was my wife and her understanding that there was more to my motivation there than just wanting a safe car. She knew that I was driven by another motivation, that I wanted to look good and feel good driving a luxury vehicle. You can go through that process of weighing functional benefits against emotional benefits for anything that you're selling. And at the end of the day, emotional benefits are why people buy. Functional benefits definitely add credibility and provide the intelligent side of a decision, but the real motivation comes from the emotion. And that's where you get into what I call the core essence of a brand. The core essence is essentially, what are you really selling? If you talk to the people at Acura, they're not just selling the car. Next slide. They're selling the click again, the status that comes with it. And if you look at advertising from BMW or Mercedes or Jaguar, any of the luxury car brands, that's what they're selling. The car is simply the way that core essence is delivered. Think about Disneyland. I had the chance to take my family there a few years ago, and if you would ask me, what did I buy? What was Disneyland selling to me? Well, functionally, it was a fun week. It was an expensive vacation, but that's not what I was really buying. Go ahead and click. What I was really buying was the magic of being there. It was seeing my little girls light up when they got to have lunch with the princesses and, ride the rides and do everything else. That's what Disney is selling. And they just happen to package that magic into, vacations that we're all willing to spend a lot of money on. Think about another brand. These are Bic lighters. Whether you're talking about Bic lighters or Bic pens, it's kind of the feeling of, I can use this, I can throw it away. If I lose it, it's not a big deal. They're selling convenience. That's the core essence of their brand. It's convenience. It's disposability. That's what they're really getting at. If you think about Coca-Cola, if you were to ask an executive from Coca-Cola, what are you really selling? The CEO of Coke isn't going to say, well, we sell sugar water that makes people fat. That's not what they're going to say. They're going to say, we sell happiness, we sell refreshment. And it's those concepts that drive all of their advertising. And it makes you want to experience that little joy that comes when you crack open a can of Coca-Cola. If my wife were here, she would interject, when you crack open that can of stuff that's going to kill you. You see brands that really do a good job of understanding what the core essence is and tapping into it. Now, this next example, I don't agree with it, and I find it distasteful. But if you look at a brand like Abercrombie and Fitch, what are they selling? They're selling sex. They're packaging up, sex and turning it into a brand and clothes that connect with their target audience. And again, I don't applaud that, but they clearly understand what people are buying and what they're selling. So, in this process of improving the way you express your brand position, you've got to start with understanding the functional and the emotional benefits of the brand. You've got to turn those benefits into an understanding of the core essence, and then everything has got to come back to that core essence. You turn that then into a brand position. And a brand position is basically making a statement to the market of who you are and what you do and why people should care. Everything has a brand position. If you're building an effective brand, you've got to have a position. And you know, whether you're selling a good or a service, you've got to be positioned somehow. Take something as mundane as oranges. An orange is an orange is an orange, you might think. But that's not the case. I've asked literally hundreds of audiences to say, hey, if you were in the grocery store and you were buying oranges for your family and you wanted the best orange you could buy, what brand would you get? Without question, the answer is always Sunkist, because Sunkist for decades and decades has positioned themselves around the concept of quality. Even though, you know, an orange is an orange and it's got a peel and it's got the insides, and certainly some oranges are better than others, but it's kind of a commodity product. Yet Sunkist has staked the claim, we are the quality orange. Let me share a personal example here for a moment, if I can. You know, Dr. Baird mentioned that I run a marketing agency, and we've been around for 16 years. We have 80 employees, and we have all the services you would expect to find in a marketing agency. We have strategists, we have people that write content, we have designers, we have web developers. And so you could ask me, hey, Bill, what do you guys do? And I could say, yeah, well, we're a marketing agency and we have strategists and designers and developers. And you would be largely unintrigued by that. There's no emotion in me just describing, well, these are the people we have and we build websites and we write brand strategies and we design great stuff. There's nothing engaging or captivating about that. We've recently been through a process following an acquisition of kind of redefining and repositioning or putting into new words the way we describe ourselves, the way we position ourselves. You can see a shot of it here. I don't tell people we're a marketing agency that does design and web development and strategy. I say we're the agency for brand starts, pivots, and turns. And I explain that then through our messaging. You know, whether you're a brand that's finding its first voice or needs to make a course correction, or even it requires a wholesale turnaround, we're the brand that does that. We're the agency that does that. How do we do it? Well, we've got a full complement of in-house strategists and designers and developers, coupled with the talent and experience necessary to help you build market share and accelerate growth. Really, we can help you get faster to market and faster to results. And you see the difference there. You know, there's emotion in that positioning that helps a CEO understand, wow, these people aren't just going to design stuff for me. They're really going to understand my business, and they're going to help me achieve results. And you can see the effect of positioning on the way people would react to or perceive our agency. So that's the next thing for you to look at as you're trying to communicate who you are and what you do, is to come up with positioning statement that explains these four things right here. Who are you trying to connect with? Who's your audience? Why do you do what you do? And why should people care? You know, what do you do and how do you do it? Those are typically the elements that need to be communicated through a positioning statement. I'll give you an example of a brand that we work with. It's a company here in Utah called doTERRA. doTERRA, after its launch, quickly became one of the very top direct sales companies in the world. And doTERRA was born out of the founders very sincere belief and understanding that essential oils can help improve the health of families. And this isn't just something that they dreamed up, for the sake of, I bet we could sell some oils and make some cash. No, they are motivated by a sincere understanding and belief that families can improve their health through the use of essential oils. And so they set out on a mission to create the best oils and then make those oils available to families. And so we were helping them to put into words, back up for 1 second, if you would. We were helping them put into words everything that they felt and believed, and we created this positioning statement. And again, look for the different elements. It identifies the audience, it identifies what they do and why people should care. For women who care about improving the health of their family, there's your audience, and getting the most out of life, doTERRA creates safe and effective solutions to heal and to enhance wellness. Okay, that's emotional. That's emotional, because who doesn't want to heal and enhance wellness? We do this by cultivating essential oils from nature's most fertile sources and by sharing these gifts through our global community of wellness advocates. So we created this positioning statement. That's a lot of words to sometimes get into your direct marketing messages, but all your marketing messages should go back to that position and explain it in some level. This is actually the message that's on doTERRA's homepage right now. And you can see how it grew directly out of their positioning statement. Our pure essential oils are revolutionizing the way families manage their health. We harness nature's most powerful elements and share these gifts through our global community of wellness advocates. Excellent. So I immediately know what doTERRA does and how that could benefit me. And doTERRA wouldn't have been able to come up with a marketing message like that had they not first figured out why that they were in business, had they not first had a compelling why behind what they were doing, and had they not crafted a great positioning statement. So, just as a takeaway from today's message, this is the sequence that every one of you in our audience today can go through in your own businesses. First, again, is to start with the benefits. Go ahead and figure out what are the functional benefits that we provide, but then more importantly, what are the emotional benefits that we provide? Are we really creating a relationship with our customer and satisfying their emotional benefits? Then take their emotional needs. Then take those emotional benefits and decide what is the core essence. Everything needs to go back to that core essence of what you're doing. In doTERRA's case, it's the idea of wellness and health. That's what they're really selling. And every single message they create goes back and can be measured against that idea of wellness. Once you know your core essence, go ahead and click. Then you turn that into a brand position. And again, that brand position should articulate to the market who you are, why you do what you do, why they should care, more of the specifics of what you're doing and how you do it. And then that brand position gets boiled out into your marketing messages, whether that's the messages that show up on your website, to the way you introduce yourself when you're meeting someone for the first time and they ask what you do, to your marketing materials or whatever else. Click one last time. When you can go through those steps and end up with a brand position, that position really becomes the yardstick for everything you do. Whether you're looking at a new initiative, whether you're looking at a new way of marketing, a new way of describing what you do, or a new sales campaign, everything should be measured against that yardstick of your brand position. If it fits the brand and the position as you've defined it, it could be a great idea. If it doesn't directly fit that brand position, you ought to be asking yourself, is this off-brand? Is this new product offering, does that fit our brand or does it not fit our brand? So you can see how going through this process creates a foundation for everything you do in your business, not just the marketing, but literally everything you do to achieve growth. Those are the thoughts I was excited to share today. I would love to field some questions and talk through any kind of specifics if Dr. Baird and I can help you apply those to your own situations.
Look, Bill, absolutely brilliant. I'm going back to the previous slide because I want to make some points about how powerful what you just did really was, and make sure that people understand the power of what you just did. And then I've got some questions that have come in and I'll ask. But Bill, early on, as you talked about the hamburger company who misapplied the notion of their branding the bun. And one of the things that you said here was that it lacked authenticity for you. That just really stood out to me in your comments and in your remarks, because sometimes we think of marketing as anything but authentic. It's the glitz, it's the put the lipstick on the pig. It is everything but authentic. And yet when you take us back to this sequence, what are your functional benefits? We talk about that in terms of the advantages, features and functionality. What are the emotional benefits in terms of what Maslow would talk about in terms of what motivates people? The core essence, nothing could be more authentic than getting from functional benefits, emotional benefits to your core essence. And then from that, be able to talk about your brand position and messaging. Bill, I love the fact that you didn't make a big deal about that word, the authenticity, as you began. But when I heard that word, it's the first thing I wrote down from your presentation. And then bringing us back to stick to the sequence. Everybody should understand that those 5 steps, well, as we talked about to begin with, 5 plays that motivate getting to the right positioning that will lead you to the brand positioning and the messaging. Bill, I just love what you did there. Anything you want to say about any of that?
I appreciate that. That question, that notion of authenticity, I would invite anyone in our audience to think about their favorite brands, the brands that they connect most enthusiastically with, whether that's their favorite brand of jeans, the favorite car they drive, whatever that is. I would guarantee that if people have a strong relationship with a brand, they perceive that brand as authentic. They perceive that the brand does what it says it's going to do, and that its motives are pure, that its motives are genuine. When a company tries to market itself in a way that doesn't match the core motives of the brand, or that doesn't match the experience that people have when they use the brand, and no long-term relationship with that brand will be established.
Just absolutely brilliant, Bill, and it's particularly apropos, I think, for our audience at Griffin Hill, and I think for your messaging and your audience, that this is about integrity, and authenticity is a great place to start. Okay, let me launch into another question. This one comes from James. I love the why concept explained in the TED Talk by Simon Sinek. How do I incorporate the why behind my company and branding so my clients see us as more than a list of features and benefits? You know, this is exactly what you talked about in terms of features and functionality and the functional benefits, but getting to the core of those emotional benefits. Why don't you take that on a little bit, Bill?
James, you're spot on. For a brand position to be as effective as possible, it really should spring from a company's why. In fact, we just went through this process with one of our clients yesterday as we were helping them to refine their brand position. before we got into that process, we went through a process of helping them to articulate the why behind what they do. I think that why conversation, that can be a heart-wrenching, really inward-looking process. It doesn't necessarily happen overnight or in one meeting. There's a great Utah company that people will notice. They have national distribution, so regardless of where you are, you've seen their product. But a company called Little Giant Ladders, they're a fantastic example of this. Before they got into redefining their brand position and their marketing and everything else they wanted to do to refresh the company, they really sat back to ask, why do we do what we do? And at the end of that process, they very genuinely understood that what motivated them was the desire to prevent injuries and save lives. Because so many people, they have all the statistics, but so many people maim themselves or die in accidents from ladders every year. And Little Giant set out to create a safer ladder. And every single person in that company is motivated by a desire to prevent injuries and save lives. And I mean, in their case, it so naturally then turned straight into their brand position and all of their marketing messages. So yeah, even prior to this, take some time and really think about why you do what you do. If the answer is, well, because I can make some good cash, that's not going to lead to an authentic brand. Get into the heart of it.
Bill, I just really appreciate what you just said right there. Look, businesses exist to make money. They've got to be profitable. We get that. But if your benefit proposition is couched in what's in it for you, the owner, or you, the operator, you've missed the boat. If you're not talking about why you care about the customer, why the customer cares about what you do and who you are, then you've absolutely missed the persuasion boat. They just do not care. So what Bill just taught us is absolutely profound. Okay, here's next. What is the best way to leverage social media to build brand awareness for a commercial construction company? Not a simple question, Bill. Break that down in a simple way that you can share with us right now.
Well, my two thoughts. Number one, I would always look at social media and make sure there's an underlying strategy behind it before you say, we have to do social, we have to do social. I think that's always a quick feeling of, oh, we've got to be doing social media or we're going to be left out. The truth is, social media is more effective for some brands than others, and it's generally less effective if there's not an underlying strategy that predetermines how we're going to use it. What platforms are we going to most likely connect with our audiences on? What kind of content is going to connect with our audience? So if I'm thinking commercial construction, two potential strategies come to mind. Number one, I'd even preface that by saying that you're probably not going to have in commercial construction people just jumping on to say, wow, I had a great experience with so-and-so. It's not the kind of thing that people are just going to talk about. But you can start conversations and share content. I think two things come to mind. Number one, showing off the great work that you're doing. So as you get something built, do you want to be distributing pictures and tours and videos, whatever those things are that can show off how smoothly the process went and how wonderful the end product is? For sure. Yeah, that is a good opportunity to do that. I would also, on a deeper level, be looking at what is differentiating about the way that you build things. do you have certain systems and processes that make it more effective? Do you have different ways of helping your client be involved in the process? Do you have different ways of ensuring that safety is maintained? Think about your process and what is it that you could share with executives who are your potential customers that would make them say, yeah, that's a company that I want to work with because those things are important to me. So really, you need to spend some time and figure out what are those hot buttons for your potential clients, and then figure out what is the content that I can get in front of them. But it's got to be meaningful. You're really in B2B social media. You're really talking about content marketing, and it all comes down to providing content that is worthwhile.
Bill, excellent. Todd, I hope that gives you some guidance. Todd asks a second question here. I'll take this one on for just a minute and we'll keep it tight. As a general contractor, we bid on projects. Sometimes we're not the lowest bid. The obstacle is convincing the potential client that the lowest bidder isn't necessarily the best contractor for their project. What are the ways to convince a potential client that it may be better to go with a higher bidder, of course, in this case, their company, because we do a better job? Well, look, I'm going to just jump on some things that Bill just talked about. Your customers, your very satisfied customers, may not be jumping all over your website or other places to share their very positive experience with you. But if you'll think about the Griffin Hill Integrity Sales System, we said that it's marked out by 6 steps or 6 routines. The final of those routines is fulfillment and follow-up. Again, that's because it's an integrity sales system. Sometimes salespeople think their job is done when they get ink on paper. It's not. If you're going to have integrity, you must fulfill what you promised before someone inked. And then you've got to, even when you think you've fulfilled and it's done, your job as a salesperson or as the company is still not done. You've got to follow up. You've got to elicit those proofs. And the amazing play set behind fulfillment and follow-up stimulates discovery on the part of your customer. Oh my goodness, it was a great experience. You know, I get to this end of it and it was just busy, busy, busy. I didn't even stop to pause and think about the real emotional benefits that I got out of this. I didn't stop to think about the functional benefits that I got out of this. And so your play set at the fulfillment and follow-up stage ensures that you elicit those proofs. You don't just elicit them for yourself, you elicit them for the benefit of your customer. It's that satisfaction that comes from, man, we made a great decision and we made a great buy and we got a great result. It adds to the quality of experience for the customer when you stimulate the discovery in them that this was a job well done. So step 1 for you, Todd, is you've got to engage in fulfillment and follow-up activities with your customers. That leads to step 2, that case open routine we talked about, that really is all about position. This is who we are, this is what we do, this is why people like you care about it. Here's a proof, here's an example. Now you're utilizing the proof, not exactly somebody that was crawling all over themselves to give you that proof, but now they're excited about it and a raving fan, you give that proof. But where does the sale happen for you, Todd? It happens in the needs audit. It happens by the quality of questions you ask that helps a buyer go, oh my goodness, these guys get us. they're asking questions that nobody else even cares about. Sometimes in the bid process, the tyranny of the process prevents you from doing good needs audit questions, and so you get in the habit of not doing it. But I can tell you from our experience of working with firms just like yours that you can push this from 0% of the time we get good needs audit opportunity to at least 50% of the time we get that opportunity. And as soon as you get that opportunity, you stack the odds of success in your favor. So Todd, I hope that gives you some thoughts about what the sales process for you is and should be. Here's next. This is from Jillian, Bill. I've created a membership site to teach brides how to plan their wedding. Functional benefits of my product is it saves them time. It's a guide and a blueprint for how to plan their wedding. The emotional benefits of my product is it prevents stress. It alleviates guessing, and it helps brides feel like they have a plan. The problem I'm having is that these benefits don't seem to be enough to get people to buy. What do you think, Bill?
That's a tough one. In a couple thoughts. One is you may need to do some research to really get to the heart of why people are, why they do or why they don't buy. You're in a tough market. If I'm assuming you're based in Utah, it's a tough market for the wedding industry here, because it is there's a lot of undercutting. You know, there's a lot of a mentality of we can always get it done for less money. So out of the gate, you've got a challenge there. That said, you've got to find some way to create an experience that is so differentiating and so engaging that it makes it clear that it's worth the extra money. To the point of Dr. Baird's point, sharing some case studies and proofs, can add to an emotional appeal there. It seems obvious that yes, people are going to achieve less stress and more peace of mind by using your service. The more you can explain that with some case studies, probably the better. And I wouldn't just do little written testimonial blurbs. I would do a series of 30-second videos that that feature the bride or the bride's mom, and really help position your service as indispensable to the process they went through in planning the wedding. Generally speaking, companies need to do some level of research to truly understand what those triggers are for people that take them from interest to engagement. It's always going to happen around emotional benefits, but sometimes doing research will help you get past the assumptions you're making and the biases that you have. Sometimes you're so close to it that you may be overlooking something that is an impediment to getting the person to sign up.
Look, everybody on this webinar has filled their minds to the brim with thoughts and applications for your own situation. It's been stimulating, energizing, encouraging, motivating. It comes with a very specific application process. This sequence: functional benefits, emotional benefits, core essence, brand position, and messaging. That is exactly what, look, is it exactly as advertised? Is Bill Brady your hero now too? This is exactly why from the time we first got engaged with Bill at SmartCon, I've wanted to do this webinar with him. I love everything he's about, Everything that EKR does is in alignment with who we are at Griffin Hill, which starts with integrity and authenticity. So you can see the power of what is going on here. That's also, I would suggest to you, prima facie proof of why you want to be at SmartCon in September. There's a link in your website in the comment section, or if that's inconvenient, following this webinar, you're going to have an email with a link to register. We invite you to come. It will be engaging. It will be stimulating. It will give you additional power inside your organization to do more good, to reach more customers, to help more people. And in that process, it will elevate your life as well. So we invite you to come to SmartCon. If you register now, you get the absolute rock bottom price, and you don't even have to pay for it yet. So come aboard. Now, final question, and I only take this question because it's from my good friend Pete Larkin. Pete, I'm glad you were in attendance today, and I'm going to move back a slide just because this is apropos. What do you suggest to best measure brand positioning effectiveness? Bill, it's all yours.
Hi, Pete. Pete is a friend of mine as well. So two thoughts, Pete. The first measure is going to come in increased opportunities. If you are positioning effectively, the natural sequence is that you're going to have more opportunities to connect with your audience, to provide solutions for your market. So that's exactly the measure that CEOs want to see, right? It's more opportunities and more closes as a result. In terms of just measuring overall brand favorability, brand awareness, there's a lot of research that can be done, and these are things that we help our clients with. Getting a baseline understanding through broad market research of how is a brand known, what's the name recall of a brand, what's the market's favorability toward a brand. You can measure that and then go through a marketing effort and measure it again and see if improvements have been made. A lot of companies, until you get into really larger companies, are hesitant to go through that process because it's costly. There are a lot of research costs that go into that. So I would say the number one things you should be looking for are, are the people you're talking to resonating with the way you position the brand, and are you getting more opportunities as you improve the position, and then also talk to people. There's the big scale market level research to get the overall understanding of brand awareness and brand favorability, but you can do that through customer interviews and through customer surveys as well, to some level, at least with the people that you know.
Bill, excellent, brilliant as always, wonderful to be with you. We thank everyone that participated with us today. Look, that's what this Griffin Hill Webinar to Win series is all about. It's about bringing you practical thought that you can get into application in ways that it will elevate your likelihood of success. We want those that we're associated with to learn, to become, and to grow so that we have greater capacity to prosper and to succeed. So we're thankful to all of you for participating. Bill, my personal gratitude to you for participating with us on our Webinar to Win series today, and my appreciation. Thank you very much. Final thoughts?
Thank you. No, thank you. Thank you as well for the time. If there was anyone that didn't get a question through, feel free to drop me an email, and I'd be happy to connect with you and answer that question. Bill at ekragency.com.
Awesome. Great to have everyone with us today. We look forward to you the next time. And Bill, we're looking forward to continuing our relationship with Bill Brady and EKR.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Take care. Bye-bye.